Bitcoin has finally done it. After 6 months straight of consolidation, it finally managed to blow right past its all-time high. If you watched our last few episodes on Bitcoin, you'll know that this is something that we expected it to do. We posted a video when Bitcoin was trading at $60,000 saying it was undervalued, and I can proudly say that we've managed to keep our clients at Bravos Research exposed to Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies throughout the large majority of this move up on Bitcoin. By the way, if you want to have an inside look at our strategy when it comes to cryptocurrencies, but also the rest of financial markets, including access to all of our trades, you can use the Black Friday discount that we're doing right now to lock in our service at a ridiculously cheap price. Now, as always, when it comes to crypto, we need to be staying on our toes. Now is the moment to ask whether Bitcoin can sustain a parabolic move up in its price, or whether this is all we're going to get and Bitcoin is poised for a lot more pain in the coming months. Well, in order to answer that, we need to look at the massive move that just occurred on the US dollar index. It moved up by over 5% in less than 15 trading days. And while this doesn't seem like much, this has potentially massive implications for Bitcoin. The last 4 times this happened were in August of 2023, September, June, and April of 2022, and March of 2020. All of these instances were accompanied by, at the very least, a 20% decline in Bitcoin's price. All the large declines in the US dollar that we've seen since Bitcoin's birth have been accompanied by large bull markets on Bitcoin, while all of the big moves up in the dollar have usually coincided with large bear markets on Bitcoin. There is one massive exception to this rule, however, and we have to zoom into November of 2016 in order to see it. Right here, Donald Trump was elected as president of the United States, and it caused the US dollar to spike, and you can see that during that spike in the dollar, Bitcoin continued to climb higher. And in fact, in the year following the election, Bitcoin went on a spectacular bull market during Donald Trump's mandate. So which one is it going to be this time around? Is this strength in the dollar going to put an end to the Bitcoin bull market, or is this just like November of 2016, where Bitcoin is not going to care about what the dollar is doing and continue moving higher? The reason this relationship between the dollar and Bitcoin exists is actually that most cryptocurrency exchanges list Bitcoin in US dollar terms. So let's say, for example, that Bitcoin is trading at $60,000 and that the US dollar at that time is worth the equivalent of €1. That means Bitcoin is also trading at 60,000 euros. Then all of a sudden, the US dollar weakens by 10%. So now that same $60,000 Bitcoin becomes worth 54,000 euros, which effectively means that Bitcoin has become 10% cheaper for Europeans to buy. And that price differential can lead to a lot of Europeans becoming interested in buying Bitcoin. And that increased demand can lead to a substantial price appreciation for Bitcoin. But the best part about this isn't just for Europe. When the US dollar weakens, it's against the currencies of most major global economies. Now, the exact opposite happens when the dollar strengthens. That same $60,000 Bitcoin instead becomes 66,000 euros, making it more expensive for Europeans to buy and making it more attractive for them to sell Bitcoin at a premium. So when the dollar strengthens, the world is more likely to become a seller of Bitcoin. And that's exactly what's happened recently. With the dollar rising significantly, it's now more expensive for the rest of the world to buy Bitcoin. This is how much Bitcoin has risen in euro and Canadian dollar terms over the last month. And this is how much it has risen in US dollar terms. As you can see, Bitcoin has become more expensive in foreign currencies than in US dollars, which means it's more expensive for Canadians and Europeans to buy Bitcoin and more attractive for them to sell. Now, as you can see, Bitcoin has risen over the last month despite the US dollar rising. So could it be that this time is different and that Bitcoin can actually continue moving higher despite a strong US dollar? Well, one argument in favor of that is that the S&P 500 has actually been on a significant bull market over the last 6 months. The S&P 500 represents basically the entire US stock market. And again, since Bitcoin's birth, it really looks like a strong US stock market is correlated to a strong Bitcoin. And that's exactly what was happening in November of 2016. Even though the dollar was rising during this period, the US stock market was ripping higher, which was likely responsible for Bitcoin's bull market during the first half of Trump's presidency. Again, the anticipation of a market and business-friendly president helped drive the market higher, something that could also very much happen today and make Bitcoin thrive. So which force is going to prevail today? Is the strength of the US dollar going to crush Bitcoin, or is the strength of the S&P 500 going to pull it higher? Well, if you watched our last YouTube video that we made on Bitcoin that was posted when the price was at $60,000, we showed you guys our valuation model of Bitcoin. And this is what it looks like. This line right here is the actual returns of Bitcoin, and this line right here is what the fair value of Bitcoin is according to our model. And this model is actually based on both the US dollar and the S&P 500. So taking into account the two big driving factors that we talked about in this video. And as you can see, since about mid-2024, this model is showing that Bitcoin's fair value is about 100% higher than where Bitcoin is trading at. At least that was the case the last time that we updated this model in early November. Now we'll be sending out an updated version of this in early December on our free newsletter. So if you want to make sure you see what it looks like, make sure you're signed up to our newsletter. But for now, we don't believe that Bitcoin has made a strong enough move yet to really catch up to where the model is at. This is why we still haven't closed the two big trades that we have on cryptocurrencies today. Now, if we look at the technical chart of Bitcoin, we see that price did reach a key resistance, and so we booked about half of our profits on our Bitcoin trade. But as you can see with the recent price action, Bitcoin is really trying to break above it. If it's successful in doing so, that could actually open the door up for a much larger move on Bitcoin. After all, there is a massive head and shoulder bottoming pattern on Bitcoin that was broken in February of 2024, and that has a potential target of $150,000. Now again, this is not a price forecast, but if we continue to like what Bitcoin is doing, it's possible that we continue holding our cryptocurrency trades until Bitcoin hits that target. Again, if you want to follow our strategy step by step, get our buy alerts, get our sell alerts, don't miss this Black Friday discount.